Rain-slicked cobblestones reflected the dim glow of the town's lone street lamp. A boy, no older than 12, huddled on the fractured roof of an abandoned barn, his small hands trembling around a piece of dry bread. From the shadows, a dog emerged, thin, scarred, and cautious, its eyes like molten amber. Without hesitation, the boy broke off a chunk and extended it. The dog hesitated, then devoured it. A low growl cut through the drizzle, and the boy froze. Something about the animal didn't belong in this sleepy, forgotten town. The kind of truth that could shatter the quiet forever. If you're drawn to stories that peel back the layers of human nature, hit like and subscribe to uncover the next part of this unsettling tale. The morning air clung to the town in a wet, suffocating embrace. Mist rolled off the distant hills, curling through narrow alleys and over shuttered windows like a silent observer. The streets of Willow Creek had yet to awaken, but the barn on the outskirts was alive with sound, the scuff of bare feet against splintered wood, and the quiet sniffing of a dog. Eli, the boy, rubbed his arms. He had spent the night listening to the wind whistle through the gaps in the barn's roof. Rainwater had seeped in along one corner, forming a shallow puddle where he had tried to keep his few belongings dry. A ragged blanket, a tattered book someone had discarded, and a half-loaf of bread he had scavenged from the market trash. The dog sat at the edge of the shadows, its ribcage visible beneath a matted coat, one eye a faded blue and the other a deep golden brown. It watched Eli, head cocked, the tension in its lean muscles like a spring ready to snap. Eli held out the bread, his small fingers shaking. "Here," he whispered. "I don't have much, but take it." The dog inched forward, its nose twitching. It sniffed the bread, then the boy, as if evaluating whether trust was a currency it could afford. The moment stretched. The rain pounded harder, hammering against the barn roof, drowning out the occasional call of a crow from the nearby woods. Finally, the dog accepted, tearing at the bread with teeth that were too sharp for its size. Eli watched, fascinated and wary, as if he were witnessing the first fragile step of a pack neither could explain. Then came the growl, deep guttural, and not entirely the dog's. Eli froze, heart hammering. From the barn-shadowed corner, a man stepped out, tall, broad-shouldered, his face hidden beneath the brim of a soaked hat. The dog stiffened, hair bristling along its spine. "You feeding it, boy," the man said, voice rough, carrying an accent Eli didn't recognize. Eli nodded, clutching the remaining half-loaf. "Yes, sir. He's hungry." The man's gaze lingered on the dog, and something unspoken passed between them. Eli felt it. An electric charge, a warning he didn't understand. "That's not a pet," the man muttered. "Not anymore. Not since last year." "What do you mean?" Eli asked, fear and curiosity tangled in his chest. The man leaned against a wooden beam, watching them both. "That dog, that thing, it's been carrying secrets. Dark ones. The kind this town buried and pretends never existed. You don't want to be near it." Eli looked at the dog, who was now sitting back on its haunches, seemingly calm but still alert. The words didn't make sense. The dog had done nothing but eat bread, yet something in its gaze, the sharpness, the intelligence, made Eli shiver. I just wanted to help," Eli said softly. The man sighed, finally stepping closer. The brim of his hat fell back, revealing a scar that cut from his temple to his jawline. "I know. That's the problem. Kindness in a place like this, it attracts attention. Attention you don't want." Eli didn't know what to say. His stomach knotted. He had lived on the margins for as long as he could remember, drifting between the town's forgotten corners, scavenging what he needed. He knew fear. But there was something different about the way the man looked at the dog, a mixture of respect, fear, and dread. "Who are you?" Eli asked. The man hesitated. "Call me Harris. Just remember what I said. That dog isn't what it seems. It's not a dog. Not really." Eli frowned. He wanted to argue, to say that animals didn't lie, didn't carry grudges, didn't hide terrible truths. But Harris turned away, heading back into the mist, leaving the boy and the dog alone again. Eli stared after him. "You understand, right?" Harris's voice carried back, low and warning. "You understand?" The dog nudged Eli's hand. The motion was gentle but deliberate, a reminder of presence, a tether to the moment. Eli knelt and stroked its head. Its fur was coarse, bristling under his fingers, but warmth radiated from its body. It had a pulse, a heartbeat he could feel against his own. That night, Eli dreamt of shadows moving in the streets of Willow Creek. Faces he didn't know stared at him from darkened windows. The dog, now larger, fiercer, stood at his side, teeth bared, eyes glowing. And in the distance, a figure watched, scarred and silent, waiting for him to make a choice he didn't yet understand. By morning, the mist had lifted, revealing a town that seemed deceptively peaceful. The streets were empty, the market stalls shuttered, and the smell of wet earth hung in the air. Eli stepped out of the barn, the dog padding close behind. He made his way toward the town center, eyes scanning for movement, for anyone who might question him, for signs that the warning he had been given was real. The dog stayed close, silent and watchful. As he passed the old chapel at the edge of town, he noticed something strange. Fresh paw prints leading away from the side door. They weren't small. They were large, almost human in shape. Eli knelt to examine them. The dog sniffed the ground, low and urgent, and then looked at him, eyes wide, almost pleading. "What is it?" Eli whispered. The dog barked once, sharp and commanding, before bolting down the alley. Eli ran after it, heart racing. They reached a narrow lane behind the bakery, where the morning fog clung to the cobblestones. The dog stopped in front of a pile of rubble, a collapsed wall from some forgotten construction project. From beneath it, something shifted. Eli's stomach turned. The dog growled, low and resonant. And then, through the haze, he saw it, a figure trapped, battered, barely conscious. "Oh, God!" Eli whispered, kneeling beside the figure. It was a man, older than Harris, his clothes torn, blood seeping through the fabric. His eyes fluttered open and recognition sparked. "You," he rasped. "The boy, the boy." The dog stood over them, protective, growling at the empty fog behind Eli. It had led him here, to the truth, but the truth was heavier than he expected. Before Eli could speak, the man gasped, choking on blood and fear. "You don't know what you've done. You don't know what he was capable of." Eli's mind raced. Who was capable? The man coughed violently, reaching out a shaking hand toward the dog. The dog, it wasn't just an animal. It belonged to him. The mayor of this town, he hid what he did, but the dog remembered everything. Eli's eyes widened. The dog's growl deepened. Its teeth gleamed in the pale light of morning. For the first time, Eli understood the dog was not just an animal. It was a witness, a silent guardian of secrets that could destroy the very foundations of Willow Creek. And somehow, against all odds, it had chosen him. The tension in Willow Creek was just beginning to surface. Shadows from the past were stirring, and Eli, with a dog at his side, was about to be swept into a current of danger, betrayal, and hidden truths that could consume the town entirely. The fog that rolled over Willow Creek seemed thicker than usual that morning, curling around street lamps and clinging to the edges of shuttered windows. It smelled faintly of wet earth and something older, sharper, decay, memory, and secrets that had festered too long. Eli carried the half-conscious man toward the abandoned chapel, the dog running ahead, nose to the ground, scanning for danger. Inside the chapel, dust motes floated through fractured sunlight streaming from high windows. Eli laid the man on a pew, pressing a rag against a wound on his side. The man shivered violently, coughing blood into Eli's hands. Who did this?" Eli asked. The man's lips trembled. You don't know him, not fully, not yet." "The mayor?" Eli asked, his voice barely a whisper. The man shook his head. "No. Worse, everyone thinks he's gone, but he never really left. He left the dog behind to remember, to watch, to make sure no one finds out what he did." Eli froze. The dog sat nearby, ears twitching, eyes fixed on the chapel doors. Its growl was low, controlled, almost human in its intensity. There was a weight behind it, a depth that Eli couldn't yet fathom. Why is the dog with me?" Eli asked. "I didn't ask for this." "You were chosen," the man rasped, his eyes fluttering shut. You have a heart that still sees right from wrong. The dog knows that. It trusts you. That's why you're alive. The words made Eli uneasy. He had survived on scraps, on luck, on the kindness of strangers, but the idea that an animal or something more had chosen him felt unreal. He had a dozen questions, but none of them seemed safe to voice. Outside, the fog pressed closer, the chapel's cracked windows distorting the shapes of houses and trees into ghostly forms. Hours passed in silence. The man drifted in and out of consciousness, muttering fragments of memory. Eli listened, catching words that sent chills crawling up his spine. Blood, barn witness, fire in bones. Each word carried weight, as if the dog's presence amplified the truth he dared not fully hear. Eventually, the man's eyes opened again, sharp and terrified. The town, they'll never believe you. He framed them all. Those who suspected, gone. Buried, forgotten. But the dog saw it. It remembers every detail. You must keep it alive. Protect it. If the dog dies, the truth dies too. Eli nodded, swallowing hard. The responsibility pressed down on him like a boulder. At 12, he had survived because the world had overlooked him. Now, he carried the weight of something far heavier than himself. By late afternoon, Eli had fashioned a makeshift bed for the man and brought him water from a nearby well. The dog remained vigilant, growling occasionally at shadows that seemed to slither closer in the fog. Each noise, the creak of a door, the distant crowing of a rooster, the shuffle of leaves in the wind, set Eli on edge. He had barely eaten. The bread he had shared with the dog that morning was long gone. Hunger gnawed at him, but curiosity and fear drove him to explore the chapel further. Among the dust-covered pews and rotting hymnals, he discovered a small trapdoor in the floor, partially hidden beneath debris. The dog nudged him toward it, insistent, growling low and steady. Its eyes locked onto his, a silent command. Go down. Eli hesitated, his stomach twisting. The man had warned him, but this was different. The dog's instincts, its behavior, it demanded investigation. He pried open the trapdoor, revealing a narrow stairwell descending into darkness. The scent hit him immediately. Earth decay, something metallic. The dog padded beside him, ears flattened, tail stiff. Eli fumbled for a flashlight he had scavenged days ago and clicked it on, the beam cutting through thick, musty air. The stairs led to a small cellar, its walls lined with old crates, jars, and rusted tools. But what made Eli's blood run cold were the walls themselves, scrawled in dry blood. Strange symbols and names, dates that stretched back decades. A pattern emerged. Every name corresponded to someone who had disappeared in Willow Creek. And at the center of it all, a symbol he recognized, the same mark etched faintly on the dog's collar. He swallowed hard. The dog stepped forward, nudging a crate aside with its nose. Beneath it lay a pile of tattered papers, some charred, others soaked through with water. Eli picked one up. The words were nearly illegible, but he caught phrases that made his stomach twist. Witness do not speak, punishment, truth, revealed only through... The dog barked sharply, and Eli nearly dropped the papers. Outside, a door slammed, the sound echoing through the fog. Eli's heart thudded violently. He wasn't alone. He ran up the stairs, dog at his heels, and found the chapel doors swinging open. A figure stood there, hooded, watching him. Eli froze. The figure stepped forward, and the hood fell back. Harris, the scarred man from the barn, his expression unreadable. You shouldn't have gone down there, Harris said quietly, though his voice carried urgency. You've seen too much. I had to, Eli said, voice trembling. The dog, it led me. There's records, names, people. Harris's eyes darkened. Some truths are heavier than you can bear. The dog, it's been protecting those truths. But now the town, they'll start asking questions. And some people, some very dangerous people, will come looking for both of you. Eli looked down at the dog. Its amber eyes glinted in the fading light, unwavering, resolute. Somehow, he knew it understood everything. Somehow, he knew it had been waiting for him, not just to survive, but to act. That night, Eli and the dog stayed hidden in the chapel. The wounded man rested nearby, murmuring incoherent warnings in his fevered state. Outside, the fog deepened, swallowing the streets and muffling any sound. The town seemed peaceful, but Eli knew better. Danger was coming, and the dog would not allow them to be taken unaware. Hours later, a faint scratching came at the chapel doors. Eli froze, clutching the dog's collar. The scratching grew louder, deliberate, methodical. Eli's stomach knotted. Whoever it was, they weren't searching blindly. They were hunting, and they knew the dog was there. The dog stepped in front of Eli, growling low and menacing. Its hackles raised, teeth bared, and yet there was an intelligence in its stance, a calculation. It was waiting, anticipating, protecting. And Eli realized this wasn't just an animal defending him. It was a force of reckoning. Suddenly, the doors burst open. Shadows fell across the chapel floor. Figures emerged, cloaked, faces hidden. Eli backed against the wall, holding the dog's collar tightly. The dog lunged, a blur of motion and fury, teeth snapping, claws scraping against the wooden floor. The attackers hesitated, startled by its ferocity. Harris's voice cut through the chaos. "Run, Eli. Take him and get out. Go." Eli hesitated for only a second before sprinting to the side exit with the dog at his side. The fog swallowed them almost immediately, muffling the sounds of pursuit. Eli's heart pounded violently. He didn't know where they were going. He only knew he had to move to survive and protect the dog. Hours later, as the first light of dawn filtered through the trees, Eli collapsed against the roots of an old oak. The dog lay beside him, breathing steady, eyes still scanning the fog. Eli's fingers traced the collar, the symbol etched into it, a mark of memory, vengeance, and truth. Eli realized the town would never see the dog as a simple stray again. This creature carried the weight of secrets, of crimes hidden for decades. It had chosen him not just to survive, but to bear witness. And for the first time, Eli understood the true depth of what Harris had meant. Some guardians were not human. Some truths were alive in places you would never expect. And the small town of Willow Creek would soon learn that the past never stays buried forever, especially when a dog remembers. Chapter 2 ends with heightened tension, the town's dark history hinted at, and Eli now fully enmeshed in the dangerous web. The dog's role as witness and protector is clear, and a direct threat is approaching, leaving open loops for betrayal, shocking revelations, and morally complex choices. Eli didn't sleep that night. The fog had lifted, leaving a thin gray haze over Willow Creek, and with it an eerie calm. Every rustle in the trees, every distant crow made him flinch. The dog sat close, its amber eyes unwavering, as though it sensed a storm gathering over the town. Harris had disappeared somewhere in the night after giving Eli instructions. Find the old mill. That's where the records are. That's where it all began. But watch yourself. He won't let the truth leave alive. The truth, Eli whispered, gripping the dog's collar. I don't even know where to start. The dog nudged his hand and then trotted ahead. Reluctantly, Eli followed, slipping through alleys and overgrown lanes until the silhouette of the abandoned mill rose against the early dawn. Its windows were shattered and the wooden beams were warped with rot. But to Eli, it radiated a dangerous gravity. Inside, the mill smelled of dust, rust, and old machinery. The air was thick, almost suffocating, and Eli's flashlight cut narrow beams through the gloom. The dog's ears twitched. It moved with precision, almost guiding him as if it had walked these paths before. Then he saw it. A desk covered in ledgers and folders. Papers were scattered across the floor, some burned, others soaked in water. But at the center, a small wooden box bore the same symbol etched into the dog's collar. Eli's hands trembled as he opened it. Inside were photographs, documents, and personal diaries. Names of missing people, accounts of disappearances, bribes, and threats. And at the bottom, a photograph that made his blood run cold. The mayor, smiling, standing beside the dog. But the dog's eyes glinted with something almost human, a look of awareness that Eli had seen before in its gaze. A sound behind him made him spin. Harris stepped from the shadows, his scarred face drawn tight. You found it, he said quietly. Now, do you understand? Eli's stomach twisted. This dog, it knows everything. It remembers every crime, every secret. Harris nodded. Exactly. The mayor thought he could hide his sins, bury his victims, silence witnesses. But the dog saw it all. It remembered every detail, every face. That's why it's alive, why it chose you, to make sure the truth surfaces. Eli's heart raced. And the man in the chapel? Harris's eyes darkened. He knew too much. The mayor tried to make him disappear. That's why he was left wounded. Trapped, a warning to anyone who might uncover the past. Suddenly, a noise, a metallic clink, echoed through the mill. Eli's pulse jumped. Shadows moved along the broken machinery. The mayor. Harris's warning had been real. Someone had followed them. The dog growled, low and deliberate. Its fur bristled as a tall figure emerged. The mayor himself, flanked by two men, faces hard and unreadable. His smile was cold, predatory. Well, looks like the little orphan and his mutt found my secrets. Eli's knees shook, but he stood his ground. The dog stepped in front of him, growling, teeth bared. The mayor laughed. That dog? That's nothing but an animal. It's not human. It's not capable of anything. The dog's eyes glowed with a fierce intelligence. It lunged. The mayor's men fired a warning shot. The dog twisted, avoiding it with uncanny agility, and lunged again, knocking one man to the floor. Chaos erupted. Eli grabbed the folder of documents. Harris, from his hiding spot, fought off the second man. In the melee, Eli noticed a lever hidden behind a rusted machine. Impulsively, he pulled it. A trapdoor yawned beneath the mayor. The dog barked and leapt, herding the mayor toward the opening. The mayor struggled, but the floor gave way, sending him into a dark pit below. Silence followed, punctuated only by the dog's deep, satisfied growl. Eli sank to the floor, trembling, relief and fear warring in his chest. Harris stepped forward. It's over for now. But remember, Eli, some people will try again. The town's full of shadows, and the dog will protect the truth as long as it lives. Eli knelt beside the dog, stroking its head. It nuzzled him, the amber eyes softening, almost human in their warmth. We did it, he whispered, and for the first time, he believed it. The following days were tense. Eli and Harris worked quietly, distributing the documents anonymously to journalists and law enforcement, revealing the mayor's corruption and the town's hidden crimes. People were shocked, angry, and afraid, but the truth could no longer be buried. Yet betrayal lingered. Some townsfolk, once trusted, had been complicit, hiding knowledge of the mayor's deeds. Faces Eli had once believed kind now seemed sinister. The line between friend and enemy blurred. Even Harris had a moment of doubt. How far would he go to ensure the dog and Eli were safe? And Eli had to confront a dark thought. Had he been chosen because he was pure-hearted or because he was expendable? One evening, Eli returned to the chapel, now a place of quiet reflection. The wounded man had recovered and left town, determined to start anew. Eli placed flowers near the pew where he had tended him. The dog sat beside him, alert but calm, as the sun dipped behind the hills, casting long shadows over the town. Eli spoke softly. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if the town will ever be the same. But I do know you saved me. You saved all of us. The dog's tail wagged once, a brief, almost shy gesture. Eli realized that the dog's loyalty was not blind. It was earned, and it had a depth that transcended words. Weeks later, the town began to heal. Investigations led to arrests. Hidden crimes were exposed. The mayor's pit remained secret, a silent reminder of the darkness that had almost consumed Willow Creek. And somewhere in the town, the dog moved silently, unseen but always watching, a guardian of truth and justice. Eli, for his part, found a new rhythm, no longer homeless. He had been taken in by a family who had survived the mayor's reign of terror and sought redemption in helping those the town had forgotten. But he never forgot the barn, the bread, or the dog that had chosen him. One quiet evening, Eli sat on the porch of his new home, the dog resting at his feet. The amber eyes glimmered in the fading light. Eli smiled, a rare, unguarded expression. You taught me something important, he said. Courage isn't about fighting with your fists. It's about standing for the truth, no matter how scary it is. The dog leaned into him, content, as if acknowledging the wisdom in his words. And for the first time, Eli felt a sense of peace. Not because the town was perfect, but because the darkness had been faced and survived. Some secrets, he knew, would never die, but some guardians he also knew were eternal. And as the stars blinked into existence over Willow Creek, Eli understood something else. Sometimes, salvation comes in the form of a stray, scarred, vigilant, and impossibly wise. He scratched behind its ears, the warmth of the moment quiet but profound. "Thank you," he whispered. The dog rested its head against his knee, eyes closing, a silent sentinel. For Eli, the town, and the dog, the story had ended, not with fanfare, but with quiet, enduring vigilance. The past had been faced, betrayals revealed, and the unlikeliest hero, a homeless boy and a stray dog, had changed everything.